Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching Now Media Television.
Welcome back, everybody. We've got David Aaronson back in the studio with us from Refuel Electric Vehicle Solutions. As a reminder, Refuel Electric Vehicle Solutions, REVS, installs the electric charging stations into multifamily buildings. David, welcome back to the show.
Good to see you again.
Good to have you in here with me.
Thank you.
David, I wanted to ask you, what role do charging standards have in all this equipment that goes into all of these, charging stations around the country? Is there a governing body that handles all of the different manufacturers, all the different chargers? How does that work?
That's a great question. It's changing. There is no government standard. What we've seen a lot in the newspapers recently is this Tesla NACS charger or charge handle, and a lot of manufacturers have gone to that. The previous one that was the standard was a J1772 plug, and so there's still a battle going on. It's just like your Apple phone and your Samsung phone.
Yep.
Still a battle with those connectors. It's the same thing here. And then of course you have level 2 chargers, which have a certain connector, and then you have level 3, the DC fast,
right,
that have a different connector. Okay, a lot of them are trying to get on to the same standard. I don't know if they'll ever get there, but the reality of the situation is this: for level 2 chargers, all you need is an adapter, and it's just a little tiny thing that sticks on the end of the cord, and you just stick it in your car. So whichever way they go, drivers will be able to access the charging station.
That makes sense. So is the federal government taking a hands-off approach to that? They're basically telling the auto industry, like, you guys figure it out?
I don't know if they're taking a hands-off, but maybe they just haven't gotten there yet.
Makes
maybe
sense.
they won't ever get there. I mean, they haven't gotten there with the iPhones.
True.
Or the cell phones.
True.
They have different standards, but wouldn't it be convenient if all the cell phones and all the mobile devices use the same charger?
Very.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the standard here.
Same thing with the EV charging stations.
But a lot of some auto manufacturers, or Ford made an announcement, right? They were going to use the Tesla adapter. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you
Ford
see more
and
of that?
GM and a good half dozen of them. And look, the Tesla chargers, their network is the best network at this point in time.
Yep.
And that's a big win for Tesla. I mean, everyone adapting their standard.
Yeah.
So I suspect it's going to continue, especially on the level 2 chargers. Level 3 chargers I'm not as familiar with because we don't really deal in those. They're not apartment.
Level 3 would be the supercharger.
The super fast chargers, yeah. But I will say this: I was out of town the other day and I saw a DC fast machine, a level 3, and I picked the handle up. It was very heavy. Now the Tesla charger is very light, but I was at another brand and I picked it up and I tried to put it in the car. It was, maybe it was just 8 pounds, but you notice
Big
the difference, yes, between that and the Tesla connector.
That makes sense. I bet it does. I mean, it's kind of like when you're putting fuel in your car for gas. I mean, you don't want to pick up something real heavy and lug that, right? You want something lightweight.
You want something lightweight.
How many different manufacturers are there for chargers? Like, you guys do level 2 chargers mostly.
So you have two things. You have the hardware manufacturer and you have the software manufacturer. There are probably, I'd say 2 years ago there may have been a half a dozen level 2 manufacturers for the hardware. And today there's probably 30.
Wow.
The word's gotten out. There's huge demand. And so what's happening is the big electronic manufacturers are getting into this business. And so there's a lot of pent-up demand, and they're going to continue to start putting these level 2 stations and the DC fast stations out. On the software side, I think a couple years ago I counted 80 different companies doing some kind of software, and it may That may not necessarily be all for apartments, but keep in mind fleet management requires a software product to manage all the charging stations on their network. So probably about 80, of which I think there's probably maybe a dozen that really specialize in multifamily.
Man, that's still a lot. How do you diligence all of those different, companies, software and hardware, to come up with what you want to put into a project?
Great question. And we're one of the few companies that do this. Okay, so we work with as many as we can.
Yeah,
that's what we want to do, and we own and operate from as many as we can, because that gives us real inside information as to how these companies work, how their software works,
right,
and what's best, what we need, what we don't need. And so unlike a vendor who puts their product in and all they know is their product,
yep,
I now have insight into a bunch of different vendors' products, both hardware and software.
Interesting. So do you guys service then after you install? You have a team that goes in and services if there's anything that's needed, or
so
do you let the manufacturer?
95% of the service issues that come up on a level 2 station are caused by connection issues or software issues. And many times, 95%, we can reset the machine from our office, or we can have the vendor reset it from the office. Occasionally, we have to have somebody go out and flip a breaker switch at the property,
right,
which is, everyone knows how to do that. So, and then if that doesn't work, then we all, the manufacturer usually will send a new machine out.
Yeah.
We make sure we have warranties.
That's good. How long do those last? Is it
They're
a year,
generally 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
but you have to look at the fine print.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? There's some warranties in the industry that will cover everything, including the cost to install the new machine.
Interesting.
And then there are others we found that just cover the cost of the broken part, but they don't cover the cost to install it.
Right.
So that's kind of odd, but
Gotta
we're
read
on the
fine print.
You only
It's like
know
for
these things. You
everything.
only know these things when you encounter these problems.
Right. Well, that's
that's one reason to use this,
the benefit of having you
we
guys,
know
yeah.
that information.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
How does, from an installation perspective, obviously every project is going to be different. They're all going to be different costs. The hardware that you install, is the pricing consolidating around, a level 2 charger costs $1,500, or is it all over the board?
No, it's generally in the same neighborhood.
I don't even know if that's the right number. By the way,
it's amazingly close.
Is
I
it?
mean, I'd say it's anywhere from about $1,400 to $2,000 for just the port.
Okay.
And then on top of that, you have a pedestal, and then you have cable management. And so the pedestals generally cost about $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
The cable management may cost another $200 or $300. So it depends. Give me $100 each way, but that's generally the cost of it.
Okay.
So, and we negotiate with all of them to get the best prices, but the real key to this whole business is the install.
Yep.
It's getting the electrical panel right, it's getting
Yep.
the conduit run, and it's making sure that you put it in the right spot.
Yep.
So you don't have to spend more money. And that's usually 2/3 of the cost of the install. So while we negotiate on the hardware and the software, the real money is saved or made by doing the installation correctly.
Yep, makes sense. Are governments, you guys operate all over the country installing these in multifamily buildings. Are there government grants that are provided to property owners anywhere in the country that facilitate the costs of the install and of these machines?
Yes, there are a lot of grants, but they may not come from the government. Okay, there are some from the government, but there are some from the states.
Yeah.
The VW fund, a number of years ago, VW had an issue with their catalytic converters, and the solution was they took a sum of like maybe $5 billion, and that was spread around all the states, and it had to be used for clean energy. So a lot of these states still have VW grant money, but utilities give them out, states give them out, and then the federal government.
Interesting. Do you see that as the catalyst for owners putting these in their projects, or do the owners just it's something they want to do and part of the plan?
It depends. I mean, look, the grants aren't going to exist forever.
Yeah.
Okay, they are there for the early adapters.
Right.
Okay, and once they get those early adapters out of the way and it becomes you know, a needed thing, they're not going to issue the grants then.
Yep. That makes sense. So get it while you can.
So there's right, and by the way, the electrical infrastructure, once you get it changed, it lasts forever.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just that little machine that you have to put up. The pedestal should last forever.
Yep.
It's just that little box that may need to be replaced every 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Was what do you see outside of software? You know, resetting the machine. What are the things that usually happen? Does somebody back into the pedestal, or they rip the cord off the pedestal? What's like the number one thing besides software?
Well, I can't say that we have a number one thing because knock on wood, we haven't had any real issues.
That's good.
But we put bollards there to protect the machines. We make sure the curbs are there and so they can't get hit. We put them in between the parking. We do everything we can, but we do know it's irrelevant. Things will happen.
Things are going to happen.
That, especially in apartment complexes.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And you guys are there to help.
Yes.
Service it when
We're
it goes
just
bad.
one easy call away.
That's right.
We're scanned.
That's right. Well, David, we've got 60 seconds left. Obviously, appreciate you coming into the studio again today and talking about this. I mean, I think this is one of the topics that continues to grow. Electric vehicles, you see more of them on the road, more manufacturers are getting into it. You heard about a little bit of a dip in the investment, you know, but I think it's normal don't you, for you know, kind of the market to absorb certain things and then kind of reset. But the investment's not going away.
Absolutely normal. And keep in mind, higher interest rates do typically slow down car buying.
Exactly.
And so today you have 40 new cars that have come on the market this year alone. So instead of it just being primarily a Tesla dominant, there's a lot more you can shop at. And so they're showing up on parking lots. They will get sold.
And they're going to need somewhere to get charged.
They're going to continue to grow.
For
and
sure.
they're going to need charging. That's not going away.
Nope. David, thanks again. We'll be headed to a break, everybody. We'll be back in just a minute.